necessarily reflect those of the advertisers, owners, or management of Pacific Telestations LLC. For comments, opinions, and questions, please email Jess Lujan at jessthebuzz@gmail.com. The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Tonight, the exciting show will be part 2 of Homeland Security, and we have, of course, former Senator, now advisor, Governor's advisor to Homeland Security, as well as Jenna Gamindi, who's the Public Information Officer for Homeland Security, as well as Civil Defense. She's the face we see when they tell us to take our canopies down. Welcome back.
Thank you, Jess.
Senator.
Thank you for
Jenna.
having me.
Yeah. So Jenna, your role. Last week we spoke to, of course, the transition between 33rd Guam Legislature to Homeland Security. You got a new boss now. How's your new boss been?
He's been great.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're a couple weeks in now.
Are you just saying that because he's sitting next to you?
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
But it's been great. We're really happy to have an advisor on board. Formerly, Charles Esteves held the role, a dual hat, as the acting Homeland Security advisor, as well as the Civil Defense administrator. So it's nice to see. Yes, so now it's nice to see the two of them together.
Okay, so explain. Civil Defense used to be just Civil Defense. Now it's Homeland Security, Civil Defense. How's the two mesh, and how is it separated?
Right. So our role as an agency as a whole, we're a coordinating agency. So we're really working behind the scenes with all of the different resources on Guam, including Government of Guam, the military, as well as our federal response agencies. Whenever there's a large disaster or an emergency, we're in charge of behind the scenes resourcing and making sure that everyone is involved. That way we're able to, attend to the rest of the island. Homeland Security is really monitoring for any threats that are man-made, either terroristic conduct or anything that can be a man-made threat, whereas Office of Civil Defense is more leaning towards natural disasters and emergencies. Where the two combine is, regardless, we're going to be working on different kinds of emergencies or disasters, regardless if it's man-made or natural disasters. And that's where the two offices combine.
Now, do you have separate employees for Civil Defense? And we need to understand,
Right.
Separate employees for Civil Defense and separate for Homeland Security. Civil Defense a government, GovGuam entity? Because, last week, Senator, you were telling us that Homeland Security is 100% funded. Federal funded, I'm sorry, yeah. But how is that? How are your employees divided up, or are they?
Right. So there are multiple grants under the Homeland Security as well as Office of Civil Defense. We're funded by two that are primary under Homeland Security Grant Program as well as the Emergency Management Grant Program. And there are divisions of salary. There are also opportunities for someone to be funded under both grants, depending on what specific projects they're working on. So there are a couple of projects that I work on specifically that might not be able to be funded under the emergency management, but it can be under Homeland Security.
Now, are these continuous grants that happen on an annual basis to just be renewed based on your accomplishments, or not, or is it something that every year you have to apply for these grants? How often? I mean, you talk about grants. There's an application process. How often does the grant have to be renewed then, or reapplied for? Because it's a competitive grant, right?
Yeah, it is. And currently we're operating on 3 fiscal years. So we do plan ahead for 3 years in advance. Working with our grants manager, Denise Cruz. We've been moving forward with our application process and now coming on board with making sure that we're turning in all of our applications in time and strategically planning for 3 years in advance. So we have a lot of great planners on board who plan their projects well in advance. I make my own submissions to our grant manager in regards to what I plan to do for the next 3 years as a PIO.
Now,
there are different programs in the grants. So you have I think Homeland Security got six or seven different programs, and she would have to report, make her reports for the deadline.
Now, are all these grants against your submissions to your grants or to your reports? Are those all executed through the clearinghouse? Then the clearinghouse under the Lieutenant Governor's office, that basically is the umbrella for all grants.
Yes, we still work through the clearinghouse, and we work with Department of Administration as well as BSP. So we're still very closely working with the Government of Guam.
Yeah. you know, I've had some guests on my radio show in regards to the Fusion Center. Tell us more about the Fusion Center, because the Fusion Center is I think, regionally, right? It's a regional fusion center, yes. Not just a Guam Fusion Center, but it's a regional fusion center.
Well, the governor just signed an executive order about 2 months ago, which established the 78th Fusion Center, which is Guam.
78th Fusion Center?
78th, okay. Throughout the country. We also established a Fusion Center Advisory Board.
Okay.
And so, like I said last week, we are in the process of moving the Fusion Center forward, fully staffed Fusion Center, identity for the Fusion Center, a mission statement for the Fusion Center, and then an operating procedure, and then some outreach programs for the Fusion Center, because they have grant capabilities as well. And so the Fusion Center is an information sharing center that I think probably by the end of this month or early next month, February, maybe late February or the end of January, we should have a complete understanding of what the Fusion Center's mission is and their identity. So
for the folks who don't know exactly what the meaning of a Fusion Center is, and what kind of food is that? Samoa Fusion, you know, if I know Samoa Fusion,
it's basically law enforcement. It's different partners in the law enforcement community: Customs, Guam Police Department, Guam Fire Department, the Port Authority of Guam, the airport, the marshals. So it's a bunch of law enforcement officials that we come together and we partner up with our different stakeholders, and it's an information sharing agency, and it's something that we're excited because it's kind of, since I took over, it's kind of at its infancy, and so we're moving along, and we hope to have it fully operational very soon.
So this basically, I mean, one of the things, I think one of the criticisms back prior to when the 9/11 report came out in regards to federal agencies and local and federal agencies not communicating. They were holding on to their information, and it is found that if they were to have shared information, if there was a sharing of information, there was a likelihood that, you know, maybe 9/11 wouldn't have happened. And so that's the reason. I think that's
the reason. Also, that's the reason for the enactment of the advisory board that's been signed into executive order. So obviously we have to remain vigilant, but we have to stay in our lane. We have to understand what our partners are doing and what they expect from their partners. So as long as we communicate and we can have constant dialogue, I don't think there should be a problem. But we will have an advisory, our first advisory meeting within the next couple of months, and then we'll present the Fusion Centers, and then we'll take it from there.
Now, let me ask you this, because of course Guam, small place, but we're talking about the communication, the sharing of information, maybe even resources in regards to the the first responders, basically, you know. But because we live out here and we have people with different statuses, and even Saipan is, I mean, you know, is our sister island basically, but we all have different statuses. We're in different countries as well. So how is that Fusion Center linked into Interpol basically? Is there a linkage? Is there communication, sharing again, because we're international?
I think that goes back to the question, or the statement of making sure you know what lane you're in, and making sure that you know what to expect from your either federal partners or local partners, and then having a grasp of the identity of the Fusion Center. And so when you put all those components together, then you should have an effective and efficient Fusion Center that operates within their lane, and that makes sure that their partners, whether it's local or federal, are updated, and vice versa. The reciprocities is the Fusion Center get updated as well as any type of information that's deemed critical and necessary for the island to become
because
safe.
I understand in the local and the federal side, but how are we meshed in because of where we're at? We're America in Asia, but basically the last America in Asia, and yeah, we can have the sharing with the federal side, local, you know, the other, but the Interpol is what I'm considering, because we have a lot of airlines. We have all these that are coming in from foreign countries now coming into Guam. how was the Fusion Center and then future its role in an Interpol again communication and fusion with those other places?
You just have to work together. You just have to understand. You have to know what's going on, and you have to get that information. I mean, it's not simple, but it can be, the complex can be simplified by just, as you said, sharing the proper information that makes sure our island is safe, whether it's an Interpol, a federal level, or whether it's a state or a local level. As long as we are informed and we are vigilant in what we're doing and we have that open dialogue with our partners, then I think we should be fine, and we should keep and it will keep the island safe.
I got more, but we got to take a quick break. Got to pay some bills.